Imagine a moment in time when an Ethiopian emperor stood before world leaders and spoke words so powerful they changed music forever. Now, picture a reggae legend in Jamaica, echoing those same words in a song that shook global audiences. Finally, think of an Irish singer who took that message and turned it into one of the biggest controversies in television history. How can one speech from 1963 create waves that reach from Africa to the Caribbean and all the way to Ireland? That's exactly the story we're exploring today. Our journey starts in 1963 at the United Nations headquarters in New York City. World leaders are gathered to discuss peace and cooperation, but tensions are high. In the United States, the civil rights movement is in full swing. Across Africa, many countries are fighting to break free from colonial rule, demanding independence and respect. At the center of this worldwide conversation is Emperor Haile Selassie of Ethiopia. When it's his turn to speak, he doesn't hold back. He says that if humanity wants true peace, we must erase any idea that one race is better than another. He warns that as long as people judge each other by skin color instead of character, the dream of freedom will never be real. For many listeners, his speech is a strong wake-up call.
A philosophy which holds one race superior and another inferior is finally and permanently discredited and abandoned until there are no longer first-class and second-class citizens of any nation, until the color of a man's skin is of no more significance than the color of his eyes, but until the basic human rights are equally guaranteed to all without regard to race, that until that day, the dream of lasting peace and world citizenship and the rule of international morality will remain but a fleeting illusion to be pursued but never attained.
Selassie's words are simple but striking. True unity can't exist if people still believe in racial superiority. It's a bold statement at a time when many nations are just learning to govern themselves after years of foreign rule. Little did Haile Selassie know, his message would soon escape the walls of the UN and find a home in a brand new musical genre. Let's leave New York for a while and jump over to Jamaica in the late 1960s and early 1970s. The island's music scene is rich with styles like ska and rocksteady. Musicians are combining African rhythms, Caribbean flavor, and social commentary to create a new sound called reggae. At first, reggae might have seemed like just another kind of music, but it quickly became a powerful voice for change. One key reason reggae took off is because of the Rasta movement. Rastas follow a spiritual path that focuses on African identity, peace, and a return to African roots. Their beliefs also center around Emperor Haile Selassie, whom they consider a holy figure. For many Rastas, Selassie's speeches are not just political ideas, they're sacred teachings. Jamaica in the 1970s is filled with energetic, creative young people looking for ways to express hope, pride, and at times anger at social injustice. Reggae becomes the perfect vehicle for that. Among the talented musicians emerging from Kingston's streets and studios is Bob Marley, who will soon make Selassie's words echo around the globe. Born in rural Jamaica and raised in the tough neighborhood of Trenchtown, Bob Marley faced poverty from an early age. Despite these struggles, he found comfort and hope in music. Along with friends like Peter Tosh and Bunny Wailer, Bob formed a group called The Wailers. They started out recording ska tunes, but as reggae evolved, so did their sound. By the early 1970s, Bob Marley had become the face of reggae internationally. He wasn't just playing catchy beats, he was singing about unity, resistance against oppression, and spiritual awakening. Songs like Stir It Up, Get Up, Stand Up, and I Shot the Sheriff carried messages that people all over the world related to. Listeners from different cultures found that Marley's music spoke to their struggles, whether it was racism, poverty, or government corruption. Yet there was more to Bob Marley's music than social protest. He was deeply drawn to Rasta beliefs, which honored Emperor Selassie's teachings and embraced Pan-African unity. Marley's faith and Rasta ideas shaped not just what he sang about, but also how he lived. Around this time, Marley discovered a powerful piece of writing that perfectly matched his own calls for justice and freedom. In 1976, Bob Marley released a song called War, and its lyrics were taken almost word for word from Haile Selassie's 1963 UN speech. It wasn't just a tribute to Selassie, it was an urgent statement that racism is a form of conflict haunting the human race. If we want real peace, Marley warned, we must end the mindset that divides people by skin color. Whenever Marley performed War in concert, crowds roared. For many fans, this was more than a song, it was a call to action. By bringing Selassie's UN address into pop culture, Bob Marley ensured that the emperor's insistence on justice would live on for years to come. Nobody at the time imagined that these same words would spark a massive uproar when performed on television by a young artist from Ireland. Now, let's shift gears and move to Ireland in the 1980s. Sinead O'Connor was a rising star with a voice so unique that people stopped in their tracks when they heard her sing. She shaved her head, refused to wear frilly outfits just because she was a woman, and spoke her mind on everything from music to politics. Her big break arrived in 1990 with the album I Do Not Want What I Haven't Got, featuring the hit single Nothing Compares to You. The song climbed charts around the world, and its music video, a close-up of Sinead's face as she sang with tears in her eyes, became unforgettable. Suddenly, she was one of the most famous pop stars on the planet. But Sinead was never interested in being a typical celebrity. She had strong beliefs about social justice, and she wasn't afraid to upset people by telling her truth. In 1992, Sinead O'Connor was invited to perform on Saturday Night Live, SNL, one of America's most popular late-night shows. Instead of singing one of her own hits, she chose to do Bob Marley's War. At first, viewers might have simply seen it as a surprising song choice, but Sinead had a plan. She didn't just repeat Marley's version of War. She changed some lines to address child abuse in the Catholic Church, making the performance deeply personal. The atmosphere was tense as she stood alone on stage. No backup band, no fancy light show, just her voice. When she reached the end of the song, she held up a photo of Pope John Paul II. Then, in a move that stunned the nation, she tore the photo into pieces. "Fight the real enemy," she said, staring straight into the camera. The morning after Sinead's performance, newspapers and TV stations were filled with commentary. Some called her a hero for speaking out against abuse. Others said she was disrespectful and had gone too far. In the weeks that followed, public opinion seemed mostly against her. Many Americans, even those who weren't Catholic, felt she had insulted a respected religious leader. At the time, most people didn't want to hear about accusations against the church, or they didn't believe them. They focused on Sinead's dramatic act, calling it offensive. In the months and years after the SNL incident, Sinead's career took a major hit. Concerts got canceled because venues didn't want the negative press. Interviews turned into confrontations, where hosts would grill her about the Pope-ripping moment instead of her music or her activism. Rumors spread that she was unstable or had gone too far to ever recover. Years later, many people looked back on Sinead's SNL protest with different eyes. As the evidence of abuse in the church became impossible to ignore, some admitted she was right to blow the whistle. Others still disagreed with her method. They felt that ripping the Pope's photo was a step too far, arguing there were better ways to call for reform. What's clear, however, is that her act forced a conversation that many wanted to avoid. In its own way, her performance of War on SNL carried the torch of Haile Selassie's message. Selassie had addressed racism and colonialism. Bob Marley had used the speech to tackle racial inequality worldwide. And Sinead used the same words to protest a different kind of injustice. In the end, this story shows us that a single idea, when it's true and urgent, can keep reinventing itself as long as people are willing to stand up and share it. It can leap from one country to another, from one generation to the next. That's the real power of a message, like Haile Selassie's. It never fully belongs to one place or one person. It belongs to anyone who refuses to stay silent in the face of injustice. Thanks for tuning in, family. If you enjoyed this story and want more deep dive journeys into music, culture, and truth, Hit that like button and smash subscribe so you never miss a beat. Your support keeps us going and growing. One love from all of us here at Rasta Today, and stay blessed.